All right, today we're diving into what could be the next massive leap for AI. We're talking about moving past an AI that just, knows a bunch of stuff to one that can actually reason on its own.
So, let's just get right to it with a big question, right? When you're typing a prompt into one of these big AI models, is it actually thinking? Or is it just a super sophisticated magic trick?
And that really gets to a super important distinction. You see, the AI we've got right now, it's an absolute master of what you could call passive pattern matching. I mean, it is brilliant at just remixing all the information it's already seen. But the real goal, the next frontier, is an active AI. One that doesn't just remix old stuff, but actually builds brand new knowledge and comes up with truly original ideas.
Okay, so if we're going to build a machine that thinks, we kind of have to agree on what thinking even means, right? It sounds so simple, but I mean, this is a question philosophers and scientists have been arguing about for, well, forever.
So for what we're talking about today, we're going to zoom in on one key part of thinking, and that is reasoning. Look, this isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about the process of using those facts to build a new, better, more accurate picture of the world.
And here's the thing, reasoning isn't just one simple thing. It's got like 4 different phases. It's that logical, step-by-step process we use to get from point A to point B. It's also kind of like algebra, where you rearrange a problem to find the answer. It's that higher-level function in our brains that lets us steer our own thoughts. And at the end of the day, it's really a core part of what we call general intelligence.
And this brings up a really important difference between, say, intelligence and intellect. Think about it. A thermostat is intelligent in a way, right? It just chooses between on and off. Simple. But intellect, well, that's a whole other level. That's the ability of a mind to figure out what's true and what's false, to really understand reality. That's the bullseye we're aiming for with AI.
So if we want to build an artificial intellect, where do you even start looking for a blueprint? Well, it seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? The only working model we've got is us, the human mind.
Yeah, and there's this really fascinating theory that says you can think of your working memory as this incredibly sophisticated recommendation engine. You know, like Netflix or Spotify, but for your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking about right now, it's constantly digging through your long-term memory and going, hey, based on that, you should probably think about this next.
And then you've got models from cognitive science, like something called the LIDA cycle. It basically breaks down how we think into a simple loop. First, you perceive the world. Then you try to understand it, to make sense of it. And finally, you act. Perceive, understand, act. It's just this constant loop running over and over.
Okay, so check this out. When you put those two ideas together, this recommendation engine for thoughts and that perceive, understand, act loop, you start to see a real blueprint emerge. A blueprint for an AI that does more than just spit out a response. You get a plan for an AI that can actually steer its own train of thought.
And all of this leads us to the absolute core idea here, something called active reasoning. And let me be clear, this is not just some small software update. This is a totally new way of thinking about, well, how an AI thinks.
So on one hand, you have passive reasoning. That's basically what AI models do today. They recall stuff, they remix it. They're basically just connecting the dots between things they've already seen. But active reasoning, that's totally different. That's about building. It takes in new information and actually creates brand new concepts, brand new ideas from scratch.
So you're probably asking, how does it do that? Well, it's through a process called differentiation. See, when the system comes across a new idea, it doesn't just file it away. Nope, it actively holds it up against everything it already knows and asks, okay, what is different about this? What makes this unique? And only after it figures that out does it actually weave it into its understanding of the world.
I love this analogy. Think of it this way. Imagine all your knowledge is stored in a giant wall of pigeonholes. Active reasoning is the process of getting a new piece of mail, carefully looking at it, and figuring out exactly which pigeonhole it belongs in. Or, and this is the really cool part, realizing that, hey, this is so new, I need to build a whole new pigeonhole for it.
And this whole pigeonholing thing isn't just a quick glance. It's a really strict 4-step process. First, the AI runs thought experiments, kind of like simulations, to see if the idea holds up. Then, it has to back up its conclusions with actual justifications. And this next part is so important. It has to look at the opposite arguments, to challenge its own assumptions. And finally, it looks back at its own work and asks, how can I make this better? It's constantly trying to improve.
So what's the big deal? Why go through all this trouble to build an AI that can reason like this?
while the payoff is something that could literally change everything, a machine that can engage in non-stop, lifelong learning all by itself.
Yeah, the ultimate goal here is to create a system that isn't frozen in time. You know, it's not just a snapshot of the internet from 2023. We're talking about an AI that is constantly, actively, and on its own, learning, growing, and weaving new knowledge into its brain.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Imagine an AI that realizes, you know what, I need to get better at physics. It could then go out, find the best data all by itself, fine-tune its own programming, and basically teach itself to become a physics expert. Over time, it could go from being a jack of all trades to a world-class specialist in, well, anything.
If you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this. The result is a system that can actually become more competent than its original programming, an AI that can truly go beyond what its creators intended, becoming more capable all on its own.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty massive question to think about. If we actually pull this off, if we build an AI that can truly learn and grow on its own, a system that can choose its own direction, what direction will it choose?